Bruce travelled to Perth for the 2023 Windsurfer Worlds after being invited by his mates from the past like Bruce Wiley and Greg Johns, Stewie Gilber, Scotty O'Connor, and many others. A few days before the start of the Worlds, Bruce was asked to do a photo shoot on the ocean filmed from a chopper. Something happened and Bruce went over the handlebars and cracked multiple ribs. In this clip, Bruce tells the story.
Before the World Championships, I broke my ribs sailing on a
Yeah,
slalom
yeah,
board,
that was devastating for
and
us. Yeah, for us
that
as
was
well.
crushing.
Yeah,
Oh, I was so disappointed,
yeah.
and in the morning after, I was in bed feeling pretty sorry for myself, and good mate Stewie Gilbert rang
Yeah.
me up and he goes, I hope you're not going to do anything stupid like leaving to go back to New Zealand to my family who were having Christmas without me, without saying goodbye. And he said, look, um, he's just got a back injury and he might not be able to sail anyway. And he said, how about we sit around together and drink rum and cokes and play chess like we used to?
Oh,
And
fantastic.
I thought that's a fantastic idea, and that's what I ended up doing. In fact, I don't think we played chess, but I certainly drank a lot of rum and coke and hung out with my mates, and it was just a fantastic
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
albeit a bit painful because all my
yeah.
friends are pretty funny and making me laugh a lot. And laughing with broken ribs is
Ah,
a painful thing.
yeah,
But
yeah.
after that event, I came back to New Zealand and recovered, and Claudio, myself, and Doug um, went to Raglan for a Raglan event, and Doug Ferguson and Claudio and I said, "Hey, we're having a fantastic time sailing these windsurfers in this tin pot club, and it was great conditions. And we went, how are we going to do more of this? How are we going to get more windsurfers in New Zealand sailing the windsurfer class?" And Earl Berry had the Nash agency, and so he had access to the windsurfer class right when it was launched. And he asked me, should I import these and should I get it going? And I said, well, it's pretty hard because the windsurfer class in New Zealand was never there. Um, because in New Zealand, Hoyle never decided to defend the patent. It allowed the windsurfing manufacturers to do anything they liked. And so in New Zealand, the culture was always build something new, build something better all the time. So we're really in the cutting edge of development of the sport in New Zealand in many respects. And of course, our expertise in the boat building industry and epoxies and carbon and Kevlar and polystyrene, all the foam sandwich construction. We were able to do some pretty neat things. And so nobody had any interest in sailing a roto-molded plastic board with a
Mm.
bendy boom and
Yeah,
an unstable sail.
yeah.
Camber inducers and everything were an exciting time in New Zealand. So it never got established. So I said to Ilberry, no, don't bother importing the windsurf. It'd be too hard. But I have to say that after the experience that I had in Western Australia and the good times I had in New Zealand with my friends, I said, we've got to get this going. And so
So
I thought,
just going back to that, Bruce, the
yeah,
it's an interesting it's interesting the way the sports developed because back in the early days right through the boom times everything was changing so quickly and equipment was getting lighter and easier to use and more
yes,
high tech. But lo and behold, a board which really is not that high tech um,
yes,
is just really just completely like the fastest growing class in the world and a lot of the classes that have been that are high tech and all the bells and whistles are just not competing against the LT. So what is it do you think about the LT specifically that makes it such a such a success story?
the LT has been um, really well designed and tested and a really good evolution thanks to Ricardo Giordano and Bruce Wiley and Greg Johns. And um, they know their stuff. I know these characters pretty well. And so they've produced a really good product. And I think the concept of having a board that's very easy to sail in all conditions with one rig and being very affordable um, was the key. And of course, in Italy, the windsurfer, when it was rotor molded, was still pretty popular, but it was just rubbish to sail
Mm.
compared to what it used to be because the daggerboard didn't fully retract.
Yeah.
And I got invited to an event very kindly by the Vincenzos in Mondello, and I raced on the windsurfer with that retractable daggerboard that didn't retract properly, and I was so disappointed.
Yeah.
And when some of the Italians came to me a little bit later, a few years later, and they said, "Oh, look, we're thinking about discontinuing the molded board that's very cheap and going very well in Italy, and changing to a new lighter weight board." It was a very interesting idea, and um, I thought it had legs, but I said only if the equipment is light and easier to use and sails better, and that's what they've achieved.